Hey everyone, it's January 4th, 2017. I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada at Xtreme Couture with Misha Cirkunov. Did I say last name right?
Cirkunov, yeah.
Cirkunov.
Cirkunov.
Cirkunov, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, really.
No worries.
I actually met you about 10 years ago at Gorilla MMA. You filled in for Frankie for a couple classes.
Yeah.
And back then, you were a pretty known, accomplished grappler then.
Yeah.
And now I'm talking to you today, and you're also known as a pretty accomplished MMA fighter.
Yeah.
But before we talk about that, how do you get started in martial arts?
In just mixed martial arts in general?
Just like your first martial art you started in.
Yeah, you know, the first ever martial art that I started in, I was a really young kid. I don't know, I think I was around probably like 7 maybe,
Okay.
7 years old. In our neighborhood, we used to have this place. It was something like kickboxing, but with a little bit of front headlocks and a couple tosses here and there.
Okay.
So it was like, I'm not sure how you call it, sanda, or it was just like I didn't even know what kind of martial art it was.
Okay.
It was just kind of like a little bit of fighting, you know, some hands, some kicks, and some front headlocks and some takedowns. So, and then I switched to, when I got a little bit older, about 11 years old, I started doing 11, I started doing judo.
Okay.
And that's when I got hooked on judo, just because I really enjoy having the uniform, the gi, you know, the belt system. I always wanted to be a black belt, you know. Always had that, like, you know, the goal, wearing like a black belt, you know. So, and then I moved to Canada. And when I came to Canada, just, you know, no friends, can't speak the language, new environment, you know. So it's really frustrating, you know. And when I came to Canada, I was 12 years old. So you have no friends, you can't speak the language, you got depressed.
Yeah.
And then I was so depressed, I forgot about everything I used to do. I forgot about the sports. I forgot about to even communicate with my friends. I was just depressed. And then I've seen an article about judo. And I'm just like, oh my God, they have judo here as well, you know? And then when I went to the judo club, I remember it was in one of the YMCA's. And I got to the area where they had the mats, and it was the same smell of, you know, the sweat and the gi, all the smell that most people don't like, and it's kind of repulsive. But to me, it was the exact same smell as back home.
Yeah.
So for me, I was really, really touched by that. You know, I almost thought that every time I show up here, it smells like my home. You know, so every time I come on a mat, I'm at home, really, you know. So
I'm sure there's many watching us that are, like, totally get you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, when you're traveling, you know, the mats are your home.
Yeah. So you know, it doesn't matter, like, if you like the martial arts and you enjoy doing whatever, boxing, wrestling, BJJ, or Muay Thai, whatever it is, you know, when you go away from your home, you can visit that school somewhere else, and it's like, you know, release all the stress and shake up your body. And sometimes you're going through whatever you're going through, bad, hard times, sometimes it can almost like flush it out of your system, you know? So it kind of worked. That's exactly how it worked for me, how I started.
So when you, and then that's when you kind of got into BJJ, or?
And then, no, I started doing judo, and then so I came to Canada, started competing in judo. I became a junior national champion. I got my black belt when I was 16. And then it was really expensive to compete in judo.
Yeah.
Every tournament that I would go, you had to pay money. And then most of the tournaments, they were outside of our province.
Yeah.
So that means you have to travel there. Gas money, if it's a rental car or whatever, if we can get a ride with someone, still got to pitch in for the gas, and then you're always eating out.
Yeah.
And then plus the fee of the tournament, and plus the fee of the hotel where you're staying, you know? And at that time, I was in high school. I couldn't really have any other job. Eventually I got a job when I was in high school too, but it was just really, really difficult to compete in judo and go to school.
Yeah.
It was fun just training judo, but then when I went to high school and I switched high schools, first I went to Forest Hill Collegiate, and then I went to Western Tech. And then at Western Tech, I met Mitchell Chuvalo, George Chuvalo's son, the famous Canadian boxer, George Chuvalo. So his son was a wrestling coach and fitness phys ed instructor, teacher. So he was, you know, he kind of like showed me a bunch of stuff for power weightlifting. I got really into weightlifting and power weightlifting at some point as well. And then I started wrestling because basically why I switched from judo is because, like I said, I had no money to go to tournaments and all that, fees and all that, hotels and transportation. So when I went to wrestling, and wrestling was part of high school, like a class, you know, so you can take a class, wrestling class. So, and everything was paid for because I was in high school. It was, I guess, covered by a school board.
Yeah.
So I was able to travel all over Canada. I've been all over every province, most of the cities around this country. And then I was able to travel for free. Every time I enter a wrestling tournament, I don't pay for anything. In fact, they give us some per diem money for food.
Oh, nice.
They provide us with meals, you know. And then, so I started wrestling. I got really into wrestling. And then I became a national champion as a junior as well, 2005 and 2006 in wrestling.
Okay.
And I got excited about wrestling because all of a sudden I was a carded athlete. So I was receiving just a little bit of money, but still it was I believe every 3 or 4 months we got the check. And it's the kind of first real check that I got in Canada. So that was kind of cool. And then I got a little taste of jiu-jitsu. I was already a black belt in judo, and I rolled with one of some blue belt in BJJ. So just a blue belt, and I was already a black belt in judo. And then I remember the guy just choked me out, you know, he just choked me out. And I you know what, I felt so embarrassed, I felt so humbled, because the guy who choked me out, first of all, he was a blue belt, and I thought, you know, in my head that like, oh, I'm a black belt, that doesn't supposed to happen. And it's just a different skill set, you know, and I got really humbled. And at the same time, I got extremely hooked. It's almost like somebody showed you like a crazy superhero skill, and they're like, oh, look what I have. And then so I was able to switch from wrestling and judo, and I invested all my time into BJJ. You know, I even at one point after I finished high school, I went to Las Vegas. I lived a little bit there. I trained at the Cobra Kai there in Vegas.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it was fun meeting all those guys, Joe Stevenson, Jay Haran, you know, Forrest Griffin, Mayhem Miller, Marco Lehman. It was just like at the time, it was like all the, like a lot of kind of like big names in a development, and some of them on top of their career kind of stage, you know. And it was cool to see kind of a little sneak peek as I was doing jiu-jitsu, a little sneak peek to what really MMA is, you know?
Yeah.
And I got like, I knew one day, I always thought, oh, after school, what I wanted to do. I always had passion for sports. And I always knew that I want to do something in sports, you know, and maybe it's Olympic Games, train for Olympic Games, you know, I'm an athlete, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then I've seen something like MMA where you can get paid eventually pretty, you know, decent money and have a pretty good living. And I've seen those guys, like, you know, at the time, like, you know, Mayhem Miller, like Jay Haran, you know, and Tito Ortiz was there, and Forrest Griffin, and all those guys, you know, they're nice people. First of all, nice people, amazing shape. They're doing good for themselves, you know, and I just like, you know, I want to be like one of those guys. So I knew that I still have to learn BJJ, and after I learn BJJ, I still have to learn strike. So it's a long process, but I kind of committed to it since I was, you know, because I was already doing sports my whole life. So I just committed to it 100%. And I tasted some fights, I tasted some defeat, I tasted what the hard work is, I tasted a little bit of everything, and I kind of understand now the full picture, full picture. So I just enjoy doing it. I'm a martial artist, and I just enjoy doing it, and just like, you know, I'm in the mats all the time, rolling with everyone, sparring. I just like helping other people too, you know, not just like, you know, I like to compete as well. That's like from my judo or wrestling, BJJ days, I always used to compete a lot, so I still enjoy competing. That adrenaline and the you know, feeling of achievement and committing to something, and so that's really cool. It makes you feel alive, and yeah. But I also enjoy being on a mat. Like after I'm finished fighting, and once I'm, you know, whatever, like 45, 50, 60 years old, you'll still find me on a mat. Maybe wearing more gi, if anything. But yeah, I like being on a mat. I've been on a mat since, I don't know, since probably what, 8, 9 years old.
This is your home, right? Yeah.
I feel like it, you know. I feel like every time I'm on the mat, I feel like it's something where it's an environment where I enjoy being, and it's somewhere where I feel like I understand a lot of stuff. I feel like I can be also helpful for the other people, you know.
Well, you said you were down in Las Vegas for a bit training. What brought you back to Toronto?
Just, mainly is because at that time, I don't think I was a Canadian citizen.
Oh, okay.
No, you know what? I was already a Canadian citizen, yeah. So I was able to stay in U.S. maximum for 6 months at a time. Otherwise, I would have to kind of switch and get a working visa and etc. Because I still kind of just fresh out of high school.
Okay.
I still don't have a job, and I was at the time, I think, 17, 18, something like that. And then I was not able to get a job anywhere there because you need to have papers and all that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't work anywhere in the industry there because I was only 18 or 19. You got to be 21 to get working permit and all that. So that's the only reason I kind of went back. But I really enjoyed. I didn't even go out in Vegas. Like a lot of people kind of know Vegas as a party place.
Yeah,
Me personally, I've been going out, but just like seeing the strip and all those lights and all that. I didn't actually go to nightclubs and all that. So I was just truly like being there as a martial artist.
Yeah.
And just studying, soaking in, getting humbled every day, and just like just trying to absorb as much as I possibly could.
It's funny you mentioned that because I've had that same conversation with other people about Vegas. I've never been. I'd love to go. But for me, like my friends are like, oh, I love to go and hit these casinos and see these shows and go and party. And I'm like, I like to go hit these gyms and change these people.
I guarantee you, if you're in Vegas, I guarantee just check out like a bunch of gyms. They have amazing like boxing gyms, amazing jiu-jitsu gyms. They have some really good MMA gyms. Casinos, me personally, I don't enjoy being there. Like I like all the bright lights and all the excitement, all these blinking lights and all that. It's just everyone smokes there.
Oh,
so there's a lot of like cigarette tobacco in the air,
I also don't like giving away my money.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
I gamble. My limit is like, I don't know, whatever, like $20
Yeah.
and like 4 5s, and I want some for sure lose that, then I'm out,
Yeah.
So yeah, but Vegas is, at the end of the day, Vegas is a fight capital of the world, really, if you think about it. So a lot of big fights, they happened in Vegas, and in the future they will still happen in Vegas. Right now they built the T-Mobile Arena there, right?
Okay, yeah.
So it's gonna be some good stuff happening in Vegas, I feel like.
So do you going forth? Do you think your camp will always be here, or do you think you might end up moving down there for fights?
For some fights, depends on the time of the year. Sometimes I might bigger fights, and now that I'm like top, kind of already like a top in my weight class.
Yeah.
I might have to, for certain fights, I might have to move somewhere, work, or if I can fly out certain training partners for here, or maybe just if I fight in different climate, different environment. We'll see. It all depends. It all depends on many different circumstances.
Yeah, Toronto's not a bad place to be. I mean, like, Toronto is pretty much our mega of martial arts in Canada.
Yeah. All my fights, for example, I'm on an 8-fight winning streak, and all 8 with the finishes.
Yeah.
And for every single one of those fights, I trained like right here, where we're standing.
Yeah.
In that cage, in that boxing ring, and on these mats here. So I don't know. It's been working.
I enjoy watching those fights, by the way.
Yeah.
The highlight of the crank when you broke the guy's jaw.
Yeah. And that, all that is just like it's right here.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like I do enjoy listening to other coaches talk and coach their fighters, and I listen to everything everyone says. Like Greg Jackson, in my opinion, like one of the smart guys. I enjoy listening to how he talks, and Marcelo Garcia.
Yeah.
I enjoy how he talks, and he coaches a lot more now. With now that he's not competing, there's like a lot of like really, really great guys, and I would love to kind of like travel out a little bit more. But then again, you travel, you get new information, but you lose on something else. Either it's diet, or it's strength and conditioning. Either it's your conditioning, either it's your sleep environment. Every time you travel, there's always something is off. Nothing is ever perfect. That's why, if anything, I try to create a good environment here, and I try to, if I know I need to do more, I'm fighting a guy who's a, you know, more of a wrestler, or a guy who's more of a striker, or the guy who kick really, really good. So I will accordingly try to bring someone in here, if anything, and create a really nice, strong, kind of like nest environment around kind of here, you know, so I don't even have to go anywhere. That's ideal case. And if it's working, and so far it's been working, if anything, I'm trying to create that even stronger, you know, so that one day, eventually, down the road, you know, when I'm retired as well, and I'm not fighting, then I can have already that, you know, strong nest, a strong environment. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of guys that are gonna be fighting, you know, down the road, and I'll be coaching them, and I'll be passing the skill. I just, like I said, I like being on the mats, and I just enjoy the sport. In my opinion, it's one of the top 5 toughest sports in this planet. And I'm really happy that I'm part of it, you know.
Yeah, well, what I've said about grappling in general when talking to people is, like, I find like, singularly is a team sport and like single sport. And when you have a good club, you know, you feed off each other, so you're bettering each other as well as yourself.
100%.
And it's much more than just, you know, a gym, right?
Yeah.
It's like family, right? So.
Yeah. But, you know, it's a few different things. That's why, you know, a lot of people ask sometimes, well, what's the difference between a mixed martial artist and a fighter, you know? And it's kind of like, it's interesting, you know, there's like a few differences, and there's many different differences. But one of those is, as well, is a martial artist usually has his dojo, like a school, right? So they have, you know, instructor, sensei, or some call them professor. So they're martial artists, you know, they respect their facility, they respect their people they train around, they respect all that. And then you have a fighter who's a little bit more, don't get me wrong, there's some fighters that are more of a mixed martial artist fighter, but there's also a fighter who's a little bit more not as respectful towards martial arts in general, but because he's not about bowing, he's about, you know, punching and knocking you out in the face. He's a fighter, you know, so it's a little bit more ruthless, a little bit more, how you say, kind of gravitated towards being a little bit more rugged and more ruthless, you know, rather than respectful and martial arts, you know. He needs to do sparring rather than learning a couple new moves here and there, you know. So that's what I feel like the difference. So martial art schools, they like to have real martial artists. Reality is, real fighters, they're not really. It's good to have them just so other members see them, but they train here to elevate, kind of like, we have tough guys in this gym, but at the end of the day, you want to have more martial artists that are respectful and they're kind of making good environment, rather than fighter who's looking around and trying to get one of those martial artists and trying to, like, squeeze them out a little like a lemon, you know?
Yeah, there's always that one guy who just wants to smash everyone and and take it to everyone in class. Yeah,
that's why I like those fighters that are a little bit more gravitated towards being kind of more of martial artists and respectful. You know, like guys like Georges St-Pierre, you know, comes from like a Japanese background, like of martial arts, right? He's a karate, I think, right?
I believe so.
Karate or taekwondo. So I mean, it's like a respectful martial arts in the Olympics. You know, you bow, respect, this, honor, you know. That's why he's kind of carries that, you know. I like that. And then you have like other guys, you know, that are a little bit, you know, they don't really care about that. They're there to fight, you know. They're fighters, you know, like Diaz brothers, you know. They're there to punch you in the face.
Everything's very personal.
They don't care about respect. You can bow, he'll kick you in the head after, you know. So it's good to have both. It's good to have both, and, you know, whatever it is, the number one thing, like you said, find a good school where you feel comfortable. Also, the school where you go, you feel like you're learning. That's number one, where you're learning. And number two, the school where you go and you feel like you're having fun. So it's not a torture being there. So not, if you all the time, you're in your school, you're looking at the clock, something is wrong. It's either you're not concentrating fully being there, or maybe you're not getting proper instructions, or maybe something is off, you know. But if you're doing that, you should reevaluate all those things, you know.
I totally agree. like I find like, you know, people are sitting on, oh, only 50 more minutes of class or whatever, rather than the guys are like, man, that was an hour already.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like
I want to do more.
Yeah.
I want to do more, you know,
Yeah.
and that's like that's why I like the attitude of like a Hands of Gracie kind of, like, you know, some of the commentaries and how he talks. Like at the fight, some guys are shaking and they're like scared being there, and they're like, you know, doubting everything and the mind game, playing the tricks, and he's like, hey, crazy. I can't wait to be in a fight. I'm here to, you know, that's the reason I'm here, to see who the better man is, you know. And it's all about the approach and how you take it, you know. It's all about, you know, what do you put in, that's what you get, you know. So
when you step in the octagon, you're more the excited guy?
I'm not so much like, I'm just trying to be calm, you know, because I know if I get too excited, I'm one of those guys that if I get excited, it might be really kind of hard to stop my excitement, you know. If I go off, I might go off. So that's why for me, if anything, I can rev really high. I'm a really high revving kind of guy, you know. So for me, if anything, it's very important just to keep the revs on a, you know, sometimes in a car you keep the revs really, really high, the go of the clutch and the wheels are spinning, so you're not really accelerating, the wheels are spinning, so all the power is, but if you know, 3.5, 4,000 RPM, it's perfect enough power to traction ratio. So I feel like I like to, when I go and fight, I like to be not overly excited, not too kind of relaxed, or somewhere right in between, you know. I like how Federer, when he comes out, also kind of like very relaxed, yet whenever you're in his range, he's trying to take your head off, you know. Musasi, you know, he's like another guy who's also kind of like, you know, relaxed, but as soon as you're in his range, he'll take your chin off your head, you know. And I like that kind of. Dan Henderson, very similar, you know. I like to kind of, I like to think and gravitate towards guys like that, you know. Very calm, yet when you in their range, they're all about business, you know.
Yeah, well, you watching your fights, you definitely are all about business in there.
yeah. It's, you know, it's a rough game. At the end of the day, you know.
So you,
it's a rough game.
You were saying earlier, so you're on a big streak right now. So what's the plans going forth? Any ideas?
No ideas yet. Just looking for, you know, I think I proved myself, you know, so far. I mean, 8-fight winning streak, and 4 of them in UFC, 5 against UFC guys, and I need that, like a big name. I need somebody who is like, that everyone knows them, so that we can put up a really, really good fight, and so that, you know, a lot of people tune in, and a lot of people kind of, more people will get to see kind of my skill set and what I bring to the table, and that, you know, there is like, man, it drives me crazy how people say, oh, 205 is like wide open, oh, 205 is this and that. Like, man, are you crazy? Like, you know, try to compete, you know, get in UFC and try to get up to top 10 level. Like, try it, you know. People get their jaws broken, people get knocked out, people get, like, it's not that easy, you know. And guys that are staying there and doing it, trust me, they're there for a reason. And you know, every weight class, like some people say, oh, this weight class is low, this guy, they're not low. There's like hundreds of thousands of guys trying to just get in there. Never mind getting in UFC, but once you do get in UFC, try to win a fight in there. It's a completely different ball game. It's like literally going to the war. There's so much adrenaline and nerves that's gonna go through you. You think that you experience that fighting in your local show somewhere? Man, there's nothing like UFC, you know? So every weight class in UFC is very, very tough. The number one thing, you gotta be ready to fight there. You know, everyone wants you to get in UFC. It's one thing getting in UFC. It's another thing doing well in UFC. Because you gotta remember that hunger and how badly you wanna be in UFC, that's exactly how the other guys are, you know? So, I don't know. I just feel like now I already proved and I went through all those like steps, and now I'm on the step where I need kind of like, you know, big name fights and just to kind of like, you know, like I said, showcase more skills and just keep moving forward. Basically, I'm not looking to get a fight with a guy who's like ranked kind of below me. Down the road, I don't know, we'll see what happens, but up until now, I'm kind of, you know, always looking for that challenge. And if I go through a challenge with the flying colors, that means I want to increase the challenge, you know? So I think that's fair, you know, I think that's fair, and that's really kind of like, you know, moving forward. And I'm also, at the end of the day, I'm also trying to make a living too, you know. It's like one thing, don't get me wrong, I love martial arts and I love this game, but, you know, I've been doing it for a really, really long time. and I didn't get any dollar off it, you know. So only now that I'm fighting at a bigger show kind of in the world, only now I'm starting getting a little bit more money. So now I have even more drive than before.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I want a bigger names, bigger opponents, but I hope that UFC and, you know, will reward us fighting on that high level with, like, you know, high level opponents, high level fighting. You know, it should be high level money as well, you know, something that, because it's a rough game.
Yeah.
It's like, it's very nice, you know, you win, blah, 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 you know, you're not injured, you know. The reality is, man, some guys, like you were saying, the guy got his jaw broken.
Yeah.
And guess what? Never mind, he cannot fight for next year, but he cannot eat for next 8 months. Never mind fighting, you know. So it'll be nice to slowly see kind of like the level of mixed martial arts grow, not just in popularity worldwide, but also in recognition, as well as it grows in popularity. So it grows in the recognition at the same time. I think that would be cool, you know.
Yeah. I love watching it just get bigger and bigger, and you know, and the evolution of it. I was talking with some other people about, like, you know, every year there's always something that the new big move kind of thing. You know, I remember there's a time where it was all about head kicks. I remember
all these different phases. It's like a bunch of different waves, you know, a bunch of different waves. And at the end of the day, on any given day, anyone can lose, you know. Anyone can win, anyone can lose. Fighting is one of those really unpredictable things. It's just the only thing you can do is ensure that when you go in there, you go in shape, you know, in shape. And it's very important that you understand kind of like what to do in every angle, and then you're in shape, and then still you're not 100% sure if you're gonna win, you know.
Well, I enjoy watching you fight. I'm looking forward to seeing you get that big name fights, and seeing you on the main card Monday. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And that's it for now. To all you watching, till next time, see you on the mats.
See you guys.